Welcome to day 8 of the Dancing Being Strong Challenge. Today we're going to be talking about the 3 P's: posture, pitch, and poise, why all 3 are important, and what they are. So first one that we're going to start with today is going to be posture. And we all kind of know posture as standing up straight, but there's more to it than that. Posture is where we are lining up our bones and engaging just the right muscles to balance everything out with the least effort, but also without pinching or twisting or bending in the wrong area, because all of that's going to put pressure. Posture is important because it has tons and tons of just health benefits in everyday life. You can breathe better. It reduces the strain on your back and your joints so that your bones last longer. And lots of other uses, but why it's important for dance is because having good posture gives us the best freedom of movement, as well as just looks good. And if we're dancers, we kind of want to look good anyway. So a few things that we want to do when we're in posture. We want to line ourselves up, and we can look in the mirror and imagine that we have several blocks. So my head is one block, stacked on the block that is my chest, stacked on the block that is my rib cage, stacked on the block that is my hips and below. And just like stacking blocks, I can sometimes stack them not perfectly centered. Most of the time, I want to be perfectly centered, but I can sometimes shift my blocks to one side or the other, as long as I don't go beyond the tipping point. And that's kind of what we want to do in our posture for dance, is we want to start off with everything nice and aligned. So if I were to hang if I were to have a stick or something to hang right down the center of my head, it's going to go down the center of my chest and down the center of my legs all the way to the floor. So that means I want to try to not lean to the sides or anything like that. We are going to get to that exception in just a moment. But it also means a little bit more as far as back alignment. A lot of people like to call it having a neutral spine. So I'm not collapsed like this, I'm not stretching like this. It's essentially where our back has a couple curves in it naturally. So we're not going to a perfectly straight spine, but it's very, very close. However, a lot of us have probably grown up being told to sit up straight, pull your shoulders back, put your chest out, various things like that, and sometimes that's not going to give us good posture. Everybody's posture is slightly different because every body is a little bit different. So what is perfect posture for me is not going to be perfect posture for you. But a lot of times we can also, things that are good in theory can be a little bit too much. For example, if I were to bring my shoulders back and down, then it gets me into this really weird position here. This is not good posture, doesn't look good, and it's putting a lot of strain here on my shoulders, as well as a lot of strain here in my back. If I were to put my chest out, it's pretty much going to do the same thing, maybe a little bit less strain on my shoulders, but still a lot of strain and stress on my lower back, so it's going to cause lower back pain. Don't slouch, that's definitely a good saying, but that doesn't tell us exactly everything that we want. So this is slouching, but this too is actually slouching, because even if my head's here, I'm still slouching because of the position of my shoulders. So what do we want? First thing is we want to have a nice, really tall and stretched out spine. And I'm not trying to straighten it all the way, but what I do want to do is I want to imagine that there's a string all the way to my head and it's just pulling me up. So rather than here, I'm going to pull up and just kind of be as tall as I can get without actually stretching too much. A good way to practice this is to take your hands, come right here to where your jaw meets your head, put your thumbs there, and then kind of just pick up, and that's going to give us a really nice tall spine, and that's also going to position our heads, because we want our heads to be nice and high. We don't want our heads down here. We also don't want to be like this. So this kind of positions our head pretty well. Another thing for posture is try to keep your eyes up. This is going to be, if our eyes go down, our head goes down, and then our spine goes down. So our posture follows our eyes. If we keep our eyes nice and level, then that's going to help keep our posture up. As well as this actually gives us the most vision. If my eyes are down here, I'm really limited in my vision. The farther down I go, the less I can see. If my eyes are up here level, this gives me the max field of view. And for dancers, that's pretty important because we don't want to run into or be ran into by other dancers. So that's how we kind of line up our head and we get a nice tall spine. The next thing that we want to do is we do want our chest kind of out just a little bit, but I don't want to push it forward like we were doing in the chest isolation exercise. I'm just going to have it kind of slightly out and slightly up. A good way to practice this is to take a really big breath of air, and when you breathe out, keep half of your lung full. And that's going to be this upper part of your lung. This is going into something that is a good idea for dancers to practice as well, which is using your diaphragm to breathe. So you're breathing through your belly and you're keeping all the air in your upper lungs. But that's kind of whether we breathe with our diaphragm or not, good posture is going to keep air in our lungs right up here. Or at least it's going to feel like that. So take a deep breath, let it out, but keep some air in your lungs, and that's going to help position our chest in the right spot. Then finally, what we want to do is with our shoulders, I want to make my shoulders as wide as possible. And so I don't want to bring my shoulders back very much. They will come back slightly. I just want to bring them nice and wide. So notice here, if my shoulders are narrow, they're kind of forward. I go wide and they go back slightly, but I'm not bringing them all the way back like this. The muscle that I want to engage here to hold this posture is going to be mostly my traps right here. And so kind of if we engage those muscles, that's just going to help hold us in this position as well. So I want you all to definitely be practicing your posture. This is something to try to practice every day. However, again, this is not going to be perfect posture for all situations. There's going to be a little bit different posture for standing, a little bit different posture for sitting, and that's just our motionless posture. Then our dynamic posture, as we're moving, then things are going to change again. So these are all just guidelines. Try to keep these in mind, and for the most part, these are going to go a long way to helping you get your perfect posture. But just be aware that they are going to adapt a little bit depending on what you're doing and what your body is like. So the next thing we're going to talk about is our pitch. Pitch is going to be the angle of our body above our waist. So I can either be pitched forward, I can be pitched with no pitch, or I can be pitched backwards. These are really important to know because depending on what dance we're doing, these are going to affect the way that we move as well as the way that we connect. So, for example, our ballroom dances, waltz, tango, foxtrot, we want to have pretty much no pitch. Every once in a while we might have a very, very slight pitch backwards, but most of that is actually stretching, not pitch. So for the most part, our pitch, even in ballroom dances, is just going to be nice and straight. And what this means is that pitch comes in large part from my pelvis. So I want my pelvis to be tilted up, and that's going to line me up over, more or less over my heels. I can still go forward to the balls of my feet and back even more on my heels. But my weight is definitely going to be a little bit more back weighted towards this section of my foot. And that's really good for our ballroom dances. That gives me the ability to have nice long strides going forward, going backward. Gives me the ability to have big long strides to the side. Nice and controlled, but also with power. And notice as I do this, this is what gives me the ability to take all these strides without much hip action like we would have in our Latin dances. So being pitched forward helps me lock my hips in a little bit more. I can still get a little bit of hip movement, which is good, but nothing major. It helps keep me static. So this is also a good time to mention a little bit of an adaptation to our posture. I forgot to mention this a little bit earlier, but in our posture, we will still be able to have twist. We should be able to twist. But I should also be able to lean a little bit. And this is going back to those blocks. If my blocks are stacked, then I can curve a little bit like this, and I'm still, by settling my hip to this side a little bit, keeping my head over my feet, I'm still actually in balance. I have a line coming all the way down here, but notice how it's still all in a straight line. I'm not actually breaking that line. If I were to go here, all of a sudden now I'm breaking that line, and this is when your blocks are going to tumble. So this is how we would get sway in our dancing, is by letting my hips go to one side, keeping my blocks still stacked so that the center of balance, center of gravity, whatever center it is still aligned. And that is kind of the last we're going to talk about posture for now. Going back to our pitch, it's going to be our pelvis tilted up. Basically no pitch. That's going to allow us to achieve all that motion. So then, pitched backward, we really don't ever dance or move like this because this isn't a great position. I don't have any way of supporting myself, of catching myself. It's not really used in dancing. So don't really worry too much about that. And we really can't pitch backward much anyway because our hips just don't move that way. There's a reason for that. So we don't wanna go beyond what is natural. But then pitching forward is when I'm going to tilt my pelvis down. And this is going to give me a lot more ability to move freely. Both my feet and my hips are now disengaged, and they have a lot more relaxation here. With my pelvis tilted up, I've got a little bit of tension in my quads so that I can't move quite as freely both in my hips and in my feet. It doesn't really work very well. So I tilt my pelvis down, and then now I can move my feet really freely, as well as move my hips really freely. And that's going to be good for both our Latin style dances and our swing dances. Both of those dances, I want my pelvis tilted down. And this is going to put my weight a little bit forward. So my weight is going to be a little bit more towards the ball of my foot now. One way to think about our pitch is to go into our athletic stance, if any of you played sports. And then all we're going to do is we're going to come a little bit higher in the knees. But I'm still pitched forward, kind of folding a little bit from the waist. And maybe we don't always want to be this far forward. We might want to be a little bit more upright, but this is also going to depend on what we're dancing and who we're dancing with. Certain people we can and will want to pitch forward more. Certain people will want to be a little bit less pitched. But just make sure that we are still pitched. One of the people that I really worked a lot with on pitch and posture are Miles and Tessa Monroe. They are two of the top West Coast swing teachers, instructors in the world. And they like to explain it this way. Our posture, we want no wrinkles in our shirt. If I collapse my posture, I've got wrinkles in my shirt. Good posture, no wrinkles in my shirt. But for West Coast swing, if I'm pitched forward, I want wrinkles here in my pocket. And then, like I said, this is also going to be for our Latin dances. I want wrinkles in my pocket. If I have no pitch, then I have no wrinkles in my pocket. And this is where we want for our ballroom. So that's a good thing to check yourself in front of a mirror for. Then finally, what we're going to work on last is going to be our poise. And poise is going to be the angle of our body below our waist. And there's kind of a limit to how much poise we can get, but it's still really important because this is going to give us various movement abilities as well as counterbalancing whatever pitch we may have. So if I have no pitch, this is a good thing to exercise to work on at home. Go with no pitch. Go forward to the farthest most you can get on your toes before you have to step. And then do the same thing going back to your heels and go all the way until you have to step and really work those two positions. Get to where you know that's your limit and that's your limit. Go back and forth. It's really good for you to be able to stop at both of those limits. And this is going to really come into play in certain things that we do in our ballroom dancing. It's going to give me the ability to control my movement by being able to adjust my poise at my feet. Same thing with a forward pitch. Now if I do my poise, I have a different range of movement because now my weight is already different just because my poise is different. So practice going on your different, my pitch is different, so practice going on different poise in a forward pitch. And again, this is going to be important because this gives us the ability to direction change and allows us to slow our movement down. Particularly if I'm going back, I may want to adjust my poise. So those are the three things for today. Our extra point today is going to be a video from I'm going to link in the description from one of the dance instructors on YouTube that I follow. I recently found that he has a very great video on exercises to help improve your posture as well as shoulder mobility. It's a really great video, and so the extra point is going to be to video yourself not only practicing the pitch, posture, and poise, but also I want you to video yourself doing the posture exercises as linked in the description. So thank you all, and great day.